But we also want them to be secure, because we've all seen what's happened over the past year as Russia has invaded Ukraine and the impact that's had on energy prices. We never want to be in that situation ever again. So finding forms of renewable energy here at home is really important. Improving our energy security is vital. So that's what that department's going to do: reduce our carbon emissions, improve our energy security. But you mentioned food. That's really important too.
This is a political ideology which has become so dominant to a degree that the Conservative Party actually holds its weekly meetings within the Indian High Commission and directly takes order. That's 1922 so-called committee which runs the Conservative Party. So when Ariana is talking about HinduTawa, she is talking about this political ideology and how much of a grip it's beginning to have on the Western world. And I can expand on that. Look at the Silicon Valley, look at the YouTube's CEO, look at the CEO of Google, look at Microsoft. They are all linked to this political ideology. And not only that, you just have to look at Kamala Harris. Yeah, she's linked to that political ideology. So this, we really have to think about what we are facing. We are facing a political ideology which worships the caste system, and it wants to force that caste system onto you. So you need to be, the reason you need to understand to differentiate a faith from a political ideology is because they're going to weaponize that faith and they're going to tell you that you are anti-Hindu. But this problem is a political problem in nature, and we are facing a political ideology. And the comparison between Nazism and HinduTawa, in reality, Hitler was actually inspired by the Aryan philosophy, and that comes into the caste system. So in a sense, Hitler took his ideas from the caste system rather than the other way around. So when Hitler spoke about the Aryan race, we need to understand what he spoke about is a unique, superior, God-like race, not white people. This is something, a misconception which has been deliberately sold to you. This idea of blonde hair and blue-eyed nonsense. The reality, what Hitler wanted to create was gods among humans, and they wanted to wipe out the human race and create a new superior race. And that's what they were looking at when they were starting the breeding experiments, genetic manipulation. That's what they were looking at. The reason these ideas of European supremacy and white supremacy were deliberately added was to introduce this new political control that we are seeing all around us. Any political activism today would be labeled under the guise of racism. And these are the challenges which we will face. They will weaponize the political spectrum against the truth.
Well, as I said, we are very proud of our world-leading modern slavery. Is that a question? Let me just answer your question, please. And we've got world-leading protections on human trafficking.
This morning, a written ministerial statement was tabled in my name, outlining the work of the Home Office. I'm proud to serve in this government.
One of the major aspects that we faced in last couple of years was not only that they put restrictions on us in terms of lockdown, but they also made impossible for you to have a political opinion, to protest. And the legal infrastructure which is being bought in this country, we need to be very careful. And you need to understand what we are looking at in terms of the legal and political structure in this country under Rishi Sunak, Priti Patel, Suella Braverman. We are looking at the caste system. Caste system is being pushed onto you systematically. Caste system is a perfect form of slavery. South Asia has been struggling from the caste system and the slavery of the caste system for thousands of years. Once this system is institutionalized, let me make it absolutely clear, without a violent revolution, you can never get rid of the caste system. So when Piers Corbyn talks about the caste system, or Kate Sheramani talks about the caste system, you need to understand you are facing an onslaught of the caste system. Don't see Rishi Sunak as a symbolic gesture of colored individual becoming a prime minister. Rather, see the political ideology he's pushing. And that's why we'll have Rihanna Ali. She's working on human rights. She's a human rights activist. And the situation we are facing in terms of how a legal infrastructure is deliberately being created to curtail political protests. So I would like to invite Rihanna Ali to update on the situation regarding political protests in this country. Thank you very much.
Okay, first of all, I would like to say good evening to everybody. And I can see that maybe I was thinking we are going to have a break first and then I will say something. But it seems like I'm going to be saying a few things. I will try to keep it simple, but there are a few things I have to cover. First of all, I would like to actually ask you a question and then we will start. My question is actually going to be, do we all understand what is HinduTawa? Do we know what it is? HinduTawa. That is something that our society is facing at the moment. There is a difference between HinduTawa and Hinduism, because some people think it's the same thing, but it's not the same thing. So Hinduism is something like a faith, like BTK Hindu people. So it's a simple way of life. But when we talk about HinduTawa, yes?
HinduTawa.
HinduTawa. HinduTawa. What it means is, okay.
We'll have questions afterwards.
Okay, I'm actually going to explain to you what it means actually. It actually means it's a pure Hindu, basically, in simple words. So they are confusing the actually society, the world, and especially what is happening, they are confusing the Hindu people. They are actually promoting the Hindu people that if you want to become a pure Hindu, you have to be part of us. So what we see in India at the moment, that a lot of minorities are struggling there, especially we actually see Muslims struggling. And if we all remember, a few months ago, last year, in Leicester, they actually were like a few riots. And they were done under the HinduTawa ideology. So what is HinduTawa ideology? A few minutes before, my colleague Gurcharan, he was talking about caste system. So HinduTawa lives on caste system. So this is what it does. So what it wants to do is, it actually wants to keep this caste system alive and class system at the same time. So that is the only way it actually lives. Now I'm going to because I've made a few points to actually make it easy for you, because I could actually talk ages and ages on it, so I didn't want to take too much of your time. So first of all, oops, 1 second. Okay, first of all, I would like to say that we believe no faith promotes extremism. Now this HinduTawa is promoting extremism. Extremism is a form of hate crime which is operating in UK, approaching London too, under the HinduTawa influence or ideology. If we remember, a few months ago, HinduTawa claimed, the HinduTawa supporters claimed that they are going to be having a march in London as well. The same situation which happened in Leicester will be taking place in London as well. So this is something very, very serious that we need to actually understand. And all the draconian laws which have been introduced in London, in UK at the moment, which we see like anti-protest bill, they are actually connected, because these kind of laws have been introduced in India and they have been there for a long time. And India has a set of anti-terrorism laws, and it has a set of laws which are invalid, which are illegal, and many of the laws are outdated. They are those laws from the time of the English people when they were ruling India as well. So what has been happening, that some of our ministers and some of our politicians, what they are doing is they are trying to impose some parts of the laws here. Like basically they're introducing it. So one of them is actually going to be the anti-protest bill as well. Now anti-protest bill, how is it working? It's actually working under the Public Order Act bill, which has been introduced. So under this bill, two things have been done, that the police has been given more authority. First thing is that the police can stop and search you and they can ask you questions. And the second thing is that if there is a protest and they are not happy with the protest due to the reasons, like for example, they actually feel that the traffic is going to be held up, or they feel that there's going to be some interference with the public life, Or if they see that there's going to be some riots breaking out, they can stop the protest over there. Now, in England, not in England, in UK, slowly, they are going to make it strict. But at the moment, it's quite light. Now, we all understand, since this time of COVID, many things have changed. We have seen a lot of protests happening in the world, especially in Europe. And those protests have become actually violent as well. And even in UK, if you do not remember, like a time of COVID time, there actually was one or two protests which were actually quite violent. You can see that so much happened. So since that time, they've been working to control things. Now, this COVID situation has actually opened the door to a lot of things, and a lot of things have been changed, not only in UK, even in Europe as well. Now, I would like to remind that under the Universal Declaration of Article 1, which actually says all humans are born free and equal in dignity and rights. And then if you go to Article 19, which talks about freedom of expression. Now, under these laws, there is no way that UK can actually try to ban any kind of protest here. And then UK's own actually a law like International Human Rights Act 1998. So under that act, under Article 10, which talks about freedom of expression, and Article 11, which actually talks about free assembly and association. So basically, if England is going to be doing this, if they are going to try, if UK is going to try to ban these protest bills, so it's going to be violating its own laws actually. And then being one of the 5th permanent countries of the United Nations, of the Security Council, I don't think it's a good idea that UK should do it. And the reason why I'm giving you these examples, I don't want to go into detail because I understand that you're not lawyers, but you need to know some information to be able to stand up for your rights. So it's very important. So what Priti Patel did is, at the time of her, when she was the Home Secretary, she tried to introduce some of these Indian laws over here as well, so they can control the minds and the rights. So this is something that like not many people liked, and we were quite lucky that she didn't stay for long. So it's very important that we understand our rights and we actually unite. Now, I'm actually going to be going back to HinduTawa because these things are quite linked up. And it's something I would like to tell you, something so surprised when I go at the bottom. Okay. So what I said was that we believe that no faith promotes extremism. Extremism is a form of hate crime which is spreading in UK, approaching London too, under the HinduTawa influence and ideology in connection to HSS, UK-based wing of RSS. RSS is a wing in India which works under the HinduTawa, and in UK it has been under the name of HSS since 1960s. So what this wing does is they actually collect funds and they give training to people, and they send people from here who actually believe in HinduTawa. They go to India, they have training, they come back here and they go to different parts of the world, and then they speak about yoga and they talk about other things, and they are creating funds, and these funds are used for young children there. So they are brainwashing young children. If you have actually seen the documentary, the BBC documentary on Modi, he has said in clear words that he became a part of the HinduTawa as a child. So what they do is they are recruiting little children, they are playing with their minds, and they are actually teaching them that the only faith which should be allowed in the world and even India is Hinduism. Now the funniest thing which I would like to share with you is that the father of HinduTawa, who created HinduTawa in 1922, he was not a Hindu himself. He was an atheist. So what he's been doing, he's been using Hinduism as a shield for himself. He's been giving Hinduism a bad name. So basically Hindus should reject it because he's using it to actually control their feelings, manipulate their minds, and by manipulating their minds, he is making them manipulate the minority. So in India, we see a lot of minority suffering, and the reason is actually because of HinduTawa. So what I think is that in this country, I know a lot of Indian people, especially Hindus. When I talk with them, they don't understand what HinduTawa is. They don't have a clue. So what HinduTawa is trying to do is trying to do the same thing over here. So it's very important that we stand by our Hindu community and we support them and we make sure that they don't get misguided. If we stand by them, that's the only way we can save them from getting misguided and from this HinduTawa to be spreading. Because if we don't stand by them, this HinduTawa is going to be so spreading in our society here, trying to do the same by manipulating the minorities and the harmony which we have been working from so many decades. It took a long time for the British society to actually stand up with all the other minorities. And I believe 150 languages are spoken in UK. And how is it possible that we all stay in peace? Because we understand each other, we respect each other. Nobody thinks that they are better than anyone. But this HinduTawa thing is making people feel that they have to be part of HinduTawa. As I said earlier, even the Hindus are being manipulated, brainwashed, that they can't be a pure Hindu till they don't believe in HinduTawa. So this is something very important I wanted to share. And there are a few other points I will actually share with you. Yes, so if we, one second. Yes, HinduTawa is Nazism, so it's very easy to understand. If you all remember Nazism, how did Nazism spread?
CBDCs. Central bank digital currencies could be a digital version of money, a bit like a digital banknote that could be used alongside physical notes and coins. Unlike most of the digital money people use daily today, it would be issued directly by a central bank, like the Bank of England in the UK. And governments and central banks across the world are working together, looking into what having a digital currency might mean in practice.